Hey folks, it's Johnny with Prepper Base 1, and this is a piece of paper with ink on it. And this piece of paper has a whole lot of power over your life. And right now, a lot of folks are finding themselves in a diminished quantity of this paper. So let's have a discussion about how to maximize your paper power. So today is June 13th, 2020, and as I sit here, our country is going through a very serious economic crisis that was brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, government actions to shut down businesses and control people gathering together, coupled with the current violence going on in our major cities. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are living on unemployment. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and some of those jobs are not coming back. And interestingly, when we have a crisis like this, a lot of the very people affected suddenly realize they need to start taking action to protect themselves financially as well as otherwise, and they need to take a hard look at how to make their dollars last. So, if you're in this situation and you are unemployed, living on unemployment, perhaps your job is getting ready to be gone, perhaps your job has disappeared, and you need to survive financially, and you need to sit down and figure out how to make your income last, there's some things you need to do. And the first thing you need to do is make a budget. Actually, you need to make two budgets. And the first one is going to be the amount I really need to survive. You need to sit down and think about that seriously. That's your rent, your food, your utilities, the absolute bare minimum necessities you need to survive. The second budget you need to make is the amount that I spend monthly. You need to be very careful with that. You need to sit down and cover all expenses that you lay out every month. So once you've got those two budgets made, you can sit down and compare the two together and see where you can cut the fat. So how do we do that? Let's take a look. Okay, so you laid down your two budgets next to each other, and obviously you can see some areas where you can cut back on right away, things that you really don't need and things that you can live without during the current crisis and in the future. So let's talk about some other areas that I think you could look at to decrease your monthly expenses and increase your usable cash. I'm going to break this down into three areas: transportation, nutrition, and miscellaneous. How many cars do you have? And do you really need all that many? And especially if you've got newer vehicles that you're making heavy payments on, you might want to consider the possibility of selling them, getting out from under those payments, and taking the money and buying a less expensive used car for cash. You may have to suffer with a used vehicle for a while, but being out from under those car payments will make a big difference in your life. It'll probably decrease your car insurance, and you might even get better gas mileage and save some money there. While we're talking about insurance, go ahead and call your insurance company and say, hey, look, I'm shopping around for cheaper insurance. Can you give me a better deal, or do I have to go to somebody else? I've done that, and it sometimes does work. Do you have an ATV that you really don't need? Because if you don't have the disposable income right now for all that outdoor fun, you might want to consider selling it, getting rid of it, and waiting until times are better to buy another one. Okay, so take a hard look at your transportation issues. Shop where you can get the cheapest gas, shop around for cheaper insurance, and see what you can save there. So let's take a look at your food budget. That's one of the biggest items in your monthly budget, feeding you and your family. Unfortunately, way too many American families spend a lot of money on prepackaged foods, microwave meals, boxed meals, whatever. You're paying a lot of money for that packaging, and the nutrition really isn't all that great, to be honest with you. You need to learn to cook with fresh foods and fresh ingredients, okay? And if you need to, run on down to the old Goodwill store and buy a cookbook. Hey, and learn how to cook. I did. It's not that hard. You will find that you will eat a lot healthier and a lot cheaper. Learn to buy your fresh produce from a farmer's market, or find a local farmer in the area that you can buy fresh produce from directly. They need the help. Trust me, right now they really do. Buy a membership in a wholesale store like Costco or something, and learn to buy in quantity, and you will end up doing a lot better. Okay? Learning to cook is not hard, and you will save yourself a lot of money, and you'll eat a lot better. So take a hard look at your food budget, learn to eat fresh, learn to eat healthy, and learn to cook it yourself. Okay, let's take a look at some miscellaneous things you might want to consider in cutting back on your expenses. Let's talk about entertainment. Cable. Do you really need cable right now? I know it might kind of suck without it, but I've had to do that in the past. And you might find that a set of $10 rabbit ears will get you by with what you need: your news, your weather, a cartoon channel for the kids. How about Netflix? Subscription services like that. Do you really have to have them right now? And if you don't and you can't afford them, go ahead and get rid of them. Eating out. We already talked about cooking for yourself. Restaurants are expensive. Even though they need the help right now, you need to consider your finances first. So cut back on the amount of time that you go out and eat at restaurants. How about subscription services that you're not even aware of anymore? Take a look at your credit card statements and see if you're paying a monthly fee for something that you don't even use anymore. It might be a subscription service to a credit report service or something like that. Take a look at that. Many people just get their credit card bill, pay it, forget about it. There may be things there that you don't need anymore, that you don't need to pay for anymore. Keep a notebook with you during the day, and I know it's a hassle, but write down every dime that you spend. And then take a look at it frequently and see if you're finding patterns where you're spending money you really don't need to spend. There's just a lot of areas that you can look at to cut back on expenses. Now, these are just some ideas, and some of them are kind of tough, but everything I've thrown out there at you, I've done myself. I know what it's like. Finally, the last thought I want to give to you is not only for now, but for the future: get out of debt. Debt is eating you alive. I'm not saying get rid of your credit cards, but what I am saying is that when you use them, make sure you can pay them off in 30 days. Getting out of debt is one of the most important things you can do for your future. It took me a long time to do it. I ended up having to go to Afghanistan for 2 years and risk my life, but I got out of debt, and a debt-free life is a wonderful thing, trust me. And in the future, with what I think is going to be a serious economic situation for a long time in this country, debt will kill you. It will kill you economically, so get out of debt if you can, all right? Now, these were just some ideas that I threw out at you. I'm sure that you'll be able to find your own. And if you take a really hard look at your monthly expenses, you'll find areas that you can cut back on. So if this video helped you and you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate the old thumbs up. I'd appreciate a subscription if you want to. I got a lot of content coming up in the future. And at the end of the day, God bless, and watch 6.